Hope you're having a great day. Next up, Rabbi Gamliel, the son of Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi. It's very important that before we give his advice, we understand who he is. His father was the Nasi. That means he was the leader. He was among great men, the greatest. Everybody went by his direction, both in wisdom, learning things, as well as character. And this man, who was great, incredibly great in his own right, he grew up in a home like this. And what does he say? He says a few things, but we're going to break it down. The first thing he says is that when you study, right, like we're talking about Judaism, the Torah, but when you study in any religion, if you don't work with it, you're going to end up sinning. That's an intense statement. If you study, but you don't work, or you work and you don't study, the end is you're going to end up making mistakes, sins. There's going to be issues. Now, it sounds great. And as a child, when you hear this, it's like, okay, we understand. Not only do we have to study and, apply to the books, but we also have to focus and have work, because if you're only studying and you're not applying it, you're not fully using your mind. And if you're working, but you're not using the proper wisdom to direct you, you're going to end up making flaws. But if we look a little bit further into this, this is a fascinating concept. If a person does study all the right things and he doesn't work, we could argue that perhaps he won't sin. He might not accomplish, he might not have experiences or have opportunities that he may have had otherwise if he went out into the work world. But why would we say he's going to sin? So there has to be something to the connection of the two together that stops somebody from sinning. That if a person just learns something in theory, but they don't apply it, and they don't go out into the outside world, or if somebody goes out into the outside world without training, they're bound to sin. Because as we've spoken about earlier, this concept of relying on our own idea of right and wrong, it only gets you so far, because we are swayed, we are jaded, and we really think that we have a very good idea of what's the right line down the middle. But we don't. We really, really don't, as much as we don't want to admit it to ourselves. And we can't admit it to ourselves, because how could we live if we live in a world where we don't have the security of knowing this is right, that is wrong? So whatever level you're on, you have a constant measure that adjusts. And as you learn more, it adjusts more. And throughout life, you see that and you become more keen of it. But this idea that a person's going to sin if they don't study and work, i.e. get out there into the world and be a part of it, it's fascinating. It means you need the full circle. You need both parts. And it's very, very easy for a person to say, well, listen, I'm just studying and working. But the only way out of this is if your studying is your work. Let's say you're a teacher or an educator or a person who gets paid to study. So now you have a built-in solution and loophole where you can study and not go out into the work world, because now the work world is right there in your studies. But other than that, we have to be very, very cautious. We can't just be a saint. Can't just be someone like a preacher and a study and a rabbi and a priest and all these things and think that we could stay and be closed in and we're going to be okay. We're not. That's not the way God made the world. He made the world so that we can touch heaven down to earth. And the only way for that to happen is to learn and study and also to apply. Have a great one. Looking forward to the next part of this. This is not the complete thought of Rabbi Gamliel, the son of Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi. This is one part of it, just like we had to break down by the previous, by Rabbi. All right, I'll see you.